you guys know I'm a big wrestling fan, especially 80s wrestling. I like it now, but I grew up in the 80s, so therefore I like the 80s a little bit more. Roddy Piper was one of the biggest heels and became one of the biggest faces in the 80s. And as you can tell from the shirt, I'm a pretty big fan of Roddy Piper. Now, this came from Cheesy Flicks. This is Roddy Piper Monster Killer, which is a graphic comic book. I guess you could say graphic book. I used to be a big comic book fan, not so much now, but this is a comic book which has Roddy Piper as the main character, killing demons and monsters and all sorts of things. He's on a mission to get his son who has a gift, and they're trying to get him, and Piper's trying to get him, and that pretty much is the gist of the story, which it's a good comic book as far as like art goes. There's really good art in there. One big issue I have with it, however, though, is Roddy Piper doesn't really look like Roddy Piper in the comic book. If you're a big Piper fan, you know what he looks like. The cover, it kind of looks more like Piper on the cover there than it does when you get inside it and look there. Inside it looks kind of more like He-Man than Roddy Piper, but nonetheless, it's a pretty little interesting story. I've read it. It's pretty long read for a comic, maybe, but like I said, it's more of a graphic novel than a comic, and it's from Grindhouse Comics, and they're doing other stuff. They're doing that without a guest star, I guess you could say, in it. But yeah, you know, it's different. I like reading stuff like this, and it's probably just as good as anything WWE's actually put out lately. I know they've done their own comic books, but this one here is probably just as good as that. Maybe not as weird, but definitely as good quality-wise from the art and whatnot, although Piper doesn't look like Piper, but what can you do? Nonetheless, you can probably head over to Cheesy Flicks, I guess, and get this. Or you could probably go to grindhousecomics.com. I assume there is one. And, of course, there's the ad for Cheesy Flicks. And there's the ad for Roddy Piper's podcast, which I've checked out once or twice. And so I just want to give you guys a look at that. That's the Roddy Piper Monster Killer comic book / graphic novel, if you will. So give that a read if you want to. I thought it was okay. The story wasn't the best story in the world. The art was pretty good, but Piper don't look like Piper. So give it a read if you want to.